Before we get into today's show, which rookie and UDFA is the biggest winner from Raiders Minicamp? Because on my show today, I'm going to give you the number one biggest winner, but this show is all about the nation. So please go down to the comments and tell me right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Reds here from Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, we are going to be ranking from 10 all the way down to 1, the top 10 biggest winners from Raiders mandatory minicamp, and we're only going to be looking at the rookies and UDFA players. So let's go to number 10 here on my list. I'm going to make it Dalton Wagner at offensive tackle. He has been working primarily as a right tackle for the Silver and Black this entire offseason, and I know Carmen Brasillo and this regime in general really likes his upside. In fact, they gave him $220,000 guaranteed, the most out of any Raiders UDFA this offseason. Justin Herron has been injured during minicamp and did not find his way on the field, which really opened it up for Wagner and some of these other players just to get extra reps. And at this point, if you can get the extra reps, that's what it's all about. And I've been told by a source that the Raiders could try to move on from Brandon Parker this offseason, not because they don't like Parker, but because they see that there's some value there. And they would rather invest a little bit more of their time and money in a project like Wagner or some other offensive lineman who we're going to talk about here in just a second. But at 6'8", 320, and he's a good pass blocker, he was a winner from Raiders minicamp. Let's go to number 9 here on my list. It's McClendon Curtis. I would say from all of the Raiders UDFAs, this is the player that I had the highest hopes for entering the offseason. He played primarily offensive tackle his final year in college, but the Raiders, they have him working as an offensive guard, especially at right guard, which to me shows that, hey, they believe in him. The weakest spot right now for the Silver and Black on the O-line is right guard, which opens it up for Curtis to potentially make that 53-man roster. The coaching staff has been impressed, but there is still a lot of depth here on the offensive line. When you look at him, he's a pretty big player, 6'5", basically 6'6", 324 pounds. The key word has versatility, and that versatility is already shown early on here at Raiders mandatory minicamp, and it also showed a little bit at OTAs. But for him, if he wants to make this roster, left guard, right guard, those are going to be the top 2 spots for McClendon Curtis to be looking at. Maybe this is the first time you've ever come across the Raiders Report and you're wondering, why the heck should I subscribe? Well, luckily for you, videos every day. In fact, 2 videos every single day, live at least twice a week. We're an interactive show. More subs equals more videos, and it's 100% free. If you are one of our loyal watchers, hey, appreciate it. And if you're a new subscriber, we're giving new shout outs to all the subs here in the month of June. Why? We're doing a battle here at Chat Sports. The most subs gets a special surprise, and Chugs and I, we've been working pretty hard. So if you are a new sub, we're going to be giving shout outs here. So shout out to Brooklyn, Sir, Archibald, Jessica, and Mutation. And if you want to see yourself on a future show, click that subscribe button. Let's go to number 8 here on the list. It's Chris Smith III, the 5th round pick by the Las Vegas Raiders out of the University of Georgia. His football intelligence is showing early on, and honestly, he's not the most athletic player. He is the primetime candidate of being in the right spot always. And I do think a lot of times when you have a player that is intelligent enough, they can put themselves in a successful position right away. Patrick Graham continues to just have glowing reviews about him, impressed by literally his easy ability to be able to pick up the playbook. I don't know if I said that right. And has said great things about him. And a lot of his teammates continue to say great things about him. Smith's a hard worker. The mentality, the instincts, it is really going to help him find his way onto the field. He might only get 150 snaps this season, and that's on the defensive side of the football. He's also going to get work from special teams, because when you think about this Raiders organization, especially Ziegler and McDaniels and McMahon as well, they want really intelligent players on special teams, and Chris Smith is definitely that. Let's go to number 7 here on my rookie and UDFA minicamp winners for the Silver and Black, Nesta Jade Silvera. The Raiders took him in the 7th round this past year, and I think this, man, the first time I did my 53-man roster projection, I didn't know if he was going to make it. I'm pretty confident that he's going to be on this list. He might be one of the final 5 players to make it. But the Raiders at minicamp, I would say the position that had the most movement on the interior, it was defensive tackle. Patrick Graham loves him. Worked with him at the Senior Bowl and has been impressed early on by his development. Graham also has a very good track record with nose tackles. You go back and you look at some of the success that he had in Miami when he was the defensive coordinator there. I look at Nesta Jade Silvera, who, guess what, went to the U, so there is some ties there from his past. At 6'2", 304 pounds, from what I hear, Jade Silvera does look pretty darn good. But then again, I've also said that the Raiders' defensive tackle room is one of the weaker units for this roster. But so far, the hype train has been really moving around Neil Farrell Jr. The team's been impressed with Byron Young. We'll talk about him in a second. Bilal Nichols looks healthy. Jerry Tillery is impressive. I mean, if I'm Matthew Butler, if I'm Adam Butler and John Jenkins, I would say those 3 players right now are going to be battling it out for that final defensive tackle spot when the 53-man roster comes a-rolling. Now, sometimes when we make these shows, we do news, we do rumors, and I always like to show people, hey, we do so many videos, a lot of times people miss them. So you might have missed my Jimmy Garoppolo replacements video, if the silver and black have to end up moving on from him. What about trade videos? Hunter Renfrow, 5 blockbuster trade ideas. Raiders OTA, winners and losers. We made that video about 2 weeks ago. And then I've also made one about Raiders top 2023 position battles. The thing that I always like to say when I'm live on the Raiders Report with Chugs and I, whether that be every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific, whether that be every Friday for Raiders Friday Happy Hour at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, if you go to YouTube and you have a question in your mind and you just type like Raiders position battles and then put Raiders Report, Hunter Renfrow, Raiders Report. Like, if you have a question and you put it on YouTube, I bet you we've made a video about it. So, another reason to click that sub button. Let's go to number 6 here on my list. It's Tre Tucker. The Raiders took him in the 3rd round, pick 100 overall. He was the pick that essentially you traded away Darren Waller for. And a lot of people, this one was a head-scratcher because, well, do we really need another slot wide receiver? The coaching staff loves his versatility. His speed, but especially his quickness, is what's going to get him on the football field, whether that be on special teams, whether that be on the offensive side of the football. He's a very versatile player. And Tucker has gotten some extra work in with Jakobi Meyers not participating at minicamp. And Renfrow did miss the 2nd day. He was there the 3rd day, but Tucker continues to show that he's just a good athlete. The coaching staff loves him. Dave Ziegler grew up like 10 minutes away from him. Love the fact that Tucker had this like wrestler mentality when he was in high school. He's going to go out there. He's going to outwork a lot of people, and Tucker has really been impressive so far. Let's go to number 5 here on the list. It's Aidan O'Connell. Man, the hype train around O'Connell has been full steam ahead. There is no doubt about it. So, guess what? Before we break down why he was a winner, will Aidan O'Connell start a game this year for the Raiders? If you're like, this guy is 100% starting, give me a 1 down in the comments. If you're like, Mitch, it's not going to happen. They're going to let Hoyer get in there before in case Garoppolo goes down. If you don't think he's going to play, type your 0 for no. Let's talk about O'Connell, though, because reports are indicating right now that O'Connell has looked very good. In fact, I don't think I've heard anything bad about the rookie quarterback. He is taking advantage of Jimmy Garoppolo not being there, and from what I heard, he has been by far the best quarterback at minicamp. Now, with the offseason, especially OTAs, especially minicamp, I say it all the time, this is the best shape of life season. I mean, think about how many reports we have gotten this offseason where it's all been good. Haven't really heard anything bad, right? And that's just kind of how the offseason is. But when it does come to O'Connell, I know for a fact that the accuracy is there. The football intelligence is there. I was told by a source that he is literally like soaking up all of the information that Josh McDaniels is relaying to him. I'll also admit, if you were in a quarterback battle with Brian Hoyer and Chase Garbers, if you don't stand out, probably never going to end up being the guy. The fact that he is standing out proves to be that Aidan O'Connell is a lot better than what maybe some people give him credit for. Let's go to number 4 here on the list. It's Drake Thomas. And one of the biggest reasons why, yes, Aidan O'Connell looked really good at minicamp. One of the reasons why some of these other players are a little bit higher is because potential to make the roster / bubble candidates to make the roster. We know O'Connell's going to make it. For Drake Thomas, he's not a lock. He's a UDFA, and he's been making a great impression on McDaniels. After the second day of practice at minicamp, McDaniels couldn't say enough nice things about him. He was saying he's a good communicator. The fact that he learns quickly, he really studies hard, he's a hard worker, and Thomas is making a very strong impression on his teammates, and he's a great locker room guy. Last weekend, I was talking to another Raiders UDFA, and I was like, all right, man, talk to me about some of the players in the locker room who you're getting along with. And he mentioned Drake Thomas. Then I talked to another Raiders player who is a rookie, and he said Drake Thomas is a really fun player to be around. When you go watch his highlight tape from when he was at NC State, another player that honestly wasn't the most athletic guy, but some dudes are just really good at football in terms of knowing where to be when they need to be there. And Drake Thomas is a damn good football player. And with this linebacker room, Amari Burney, he missed the third day of practice. Robert Spillane, haven't heard too many good things about him. Darian Butler's played well. Luke Masterson, haven't heard much. But for Drake Thomas, he's going to make this roster, I believe, and he's probably going to have more of an impact on special teams in year one. Now, friendly reminder, if you guys don't already know, you can always interact with me on social media. If you're trying to stay up to date on news, it's Twitter. My personal life, go to IG. If you want even more live shows, I go live every single Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Locals. And if you have an interesting birthday shout out, or if it's a gift, if Father's Day is right around the corner, you can always hit me up on Cameo. Guess where? Mitchell Wren 365. Let's go to number 3 here on the list. Byron Young, I'm looking at you. You are a clear winner here from rookie and UDFA minicamp. So to me, he looks like one of the best defensive tackles on this roster. The only player that I have been told that looks better than Byron Young right now is Neil Farrell Jr. I also was told that Bilal Nichols looks pretty damn good. So to me, that's probably going to be your top 3 defensive tackles, and a lot of people thought it was going to be Jerry Tillery. Don't sleep on Byron Young, man. He's going to make an impact this season. And I had a source tell me that he is the most prepared rookie on the team. I spoke about this earlier in the week when I talked about Young because the coaching staff's like, he looks like he's picking up the NFL practice quickly. And that's kind of to be expected, right? In terms of which college team probably runs their organization or practices game the most like an NFL roster, Nick Saban, the Alabama Crimson Tide. And it sounds like Byron Young is having a really quick adjustment period to playing in the Patrick Graham system and rotating in and out at defensive tackle. Let's go to number 2 here. It's Jakorian Bennett. Even though Bennett did not practice the final day of Raiders mandatory minicamp, he's got to be a winner, man. The fact that he is getting first-team looks already at the slot position, that's a good sign. And I like Tyler Hall. He's a good player. But Bennett, to me, has the higher upside, is the better athlete. Yes, Hall has the advantage entering year 2 in the Patrick Graham system, but Bennett has that upside and has the ability to start in year 1. So if you're a rookie selected in round 4 and you could be the day 1 starter, that makes you a winner. Bennett has looked comfortable in Patrick Graham's system already. I mean, we've heard guys like Trevon Merrick this offseason talk about the complications that he had in year 1. We've heard from Nate Hobbs in terms of it was a little bit more tricky to get it going. For Jakorian Bennett, you listen to McDaniels, you listen to Patrick Graham, it sounds like they are very pleased so far from what they have received from the cornerback out of Maryland. But the number 1, the biggest winner from rookie and UDFA minicamp is Adam Plant Jr. The very first day after minicamp, Chandler Jones went to the podium and just flat out said, Adam Plant Jr. is impressing me. I talked to another Raiders captain, and I asked him, well, who's sticking out to you? He said Adam Plant Jr. I then talked to another Raiders rookie, and I said, who's your best friend on the roster? He said Adam Plant Jr. So not only is he making an impact with multiple players, he's making an impact with coaches, and he's making an impact in the locker room. He continues to show that he's going to be a hardworking player. I have been texting with his father, Mr. Plant, and I've recently found out, I know it's a weird thing to say, but very, very nice guy, has offered cheesecake to Jeremy and I, which does look bomb as hell. Oh, absolutely, I'll take it. But when it comes to Plant here, I do think when you have a father that previously played in the NFL, that's really going to help you out to get acclimated a little bit quicker. He's a Las Vegas native, so maybe that could help out. But on top of that, Jordan Willis has not been practicing, missed all 3 days of mandatory minicamp. He's better than George Tarlas. Malcolm Kuntz is not a Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler guy. We know that Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, Tyree Wilson are going to make the roster. Last season, the Raiders kept 4 defensive ends. I mean, right now, I don't think it's out of bounds, and I don't really think it's all that crazy to sit up here and say that Adam Plant Jr. has a legitimate shot to make this Raiders 53-man roster. And when you're a UDFA, if you have a chance to make it, that makes you the biggest winner. And from people who I talked to said it's Plant Jr. as the biggest winner. So my question to you is this. If I'm going to say he's the biggest winner, I want you to type Y for yes, or I want you to type your N for no. Will Adam Plant Jr. make the Raiders 53-man roster? I'm curious to see where this one goes. And yes, I will 100% send this video to his pop. So hopefully we get a lot of Y's for yeses. So again, y'all, if you made it this far in the show, shout out to you. If you want to take a screenshot here of my rookie and UDFA minicamp winners, please don't be afraid to share it on IG, share it on Twitter. Hopefully you guys know where to find me. And if you have any questions about these players, if you're like, dude, you missed someone, the DMs are always open. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your day.